It's Sunday, 6th of March, 2022. Let's get myself on. In today's show, we are discussing Josh Bowler's continued rich vein of form as his late strike against the Potters gives the Pool our first away win since October 30th, 2021, and sent the travelling Tangerine Hordes into raptures. And I'm John Ospinall. This is Teesside's podcast, match reaction show. Stoke 0, Blackpool 1.
Ollie's already changed the world. A small town from the north of England with a great tradition.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Teesside's podcast, match reaction show. Welcome everybody on the stream. Welcome if you're listening on the audio pod. Andy Porter says, sorry I'm late, taking the Browns to the Super Bowl, whatever that means. Apologies, we are slightly late, listeners. Technical gremlins in the backstage there. Tim, I've just noticed you had your headband on. Was it purposely like Josh Bowler? And you are muted, by the way. Mute. So you mute.
Schoolboy error.
Every week.
In appreciation for yesterday's goal, I thought I'd try and do a Josh Bowler, but my hair's getting longer than his, I think. So could be an issue.
I don't think that's very inclusive, Tim. I feel it left out.
You should get a Josh Bowler wig.
I could do.
Tim, I did actually know. I could actually see what you were doing there. So well done.
Yeah, but it wasn't
the
working
gag
very
failed with the unmuting of the button.
Yeah, well,
I think as we've said before, Owen Oyston was very complimentary of your hair once, wasn't he?
he wants to stroke it, the weirdo. Very
Nick,
weird.
Owen, it's you. You've got a nice head of hair for someone of a certain vintage, Nick. I wonder what Owen's views on your hair would be. You may want to do something even further with you because you've got better hair.
I don't want to think about that. There are some advantages, I'm not really, let's be honest. Owen's going to leave me alone.
But you might have had a fetish for that kind of look as well, Mitch. You never know.
Well, who knows?
Anyway, as Mick Birdall's just said, evening, boys. What a great day it was yesterday, and what a poor side Stoke are. It was a great day, wasn't it? I think we were all there in our various guises. Tim and I, Evie, Nick, you were on the Polton bus, I believe.
No, I was on the Freck one. The
Freck bus. Is that a splinter? Is that a splinter cell?
Yeah, it's a different group. So
You'll be getting blackballed by Ashley.
Yeah, it was an early start. Well, it started picked up at the Saddle and then sat hands and I got on at Lytham and then Freck. So we were on our way quite early for about 10 o'clock on the road. So it was a long day's drinking.
Why'd you get on in Lytham when you live in Thornton?
Because I was going out in Lytham afterwards and my mum lives in Lytham.
All right, okay.
So I was staying at my mum's, if that's all right.
No, it's just you know, you do.
Just because he's left the Bolton phrase, there's no need to be like that. There was various coach trips. Salty was running a coach. I noticed again, so I did say I'd didn't say I'd give him a shout out. I said I'd mention it. Yeah, Salty runs a coach from the South Shore.
Salty, next time you're organising your trip back, you need to liaise with Ashley and Tim, who always know where you can get booze from service stations. So you don't go to Sandbach. It's a schoolboy error. Don't do Sandbach. You need the Melks and Spencers.
What Tim's going on about is we went to the Sandbach services on the way home after the game. Just as we got there, his coach loads of thirsty Blackpool fans all spilling off the coach. He's coming into the kind of the main snacks area, where I was getting Eddie a packet of crisps and some chocolate, and loads of people saying to the one behind the counter, "Where's the alcohol? Do you not sell alcohol?" And she was like, going, "No, sorry." And you should have seen the looks on all their faces. "You don't sell booze. They've got no cans." They were devastated, weren't they? And Tim told me on the car, he knows all about this.
Yeah, and the next service station had a Marks and Spencers, and that's what you need. That's where you can get your G&T in the little balls.
Mitch, you're nodding knowingly. Is that
Well,
something
no,
you need?
because I stopped for similar reasons to you, because I was driving my diesel-powered, very dull mid-range estate car there and back, as is my want. And I stopped for similar reasons to you to go to Burger King with my lad. And a minibus pulled in and of pool fans and probably emptied M&S of their ale supplies in about 2 minutes. It was like locusts on crops.
But what a great day, all round day. Mitch, on your blog, you mentioned something that tickled my fancy. Your description of the whole area, the build up to the walk up to the stadium, and the kind of the whole bleakness of it, and the sanitization of it. And I was trying to explain to Eddie. He was going, "Oh, I don't need a coat." I said, "You do. It's freezing. They're always freezing in this place." I didn't notice it's kind of up on a mound or a hill as well, and it's just an extremely depressing experience parking in one of those retail or some industrial areas and then just trudging up there. I don't know. It was like walking to I don't know.
Do you remember Morrissey's song "Every Day's Like a Sunday"? When I walk to Stoke's ground, I feel like I can hear that music as I approach the ground. It's so depressing, isn't it? It's probably the most depressing walk to a ground you're ever going to come across. And the ground's okay when you get there, but it's just the walk to it is painful.
But it's sort of Stoker than Stoke, isn't it? Because everyone has a picture of Stoke in their head, and Stoke's not. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing of places, but it's like they've sort of compressed the essence of Stoke in this kind of. I don't know. It's very post-industrial. It's Stoke's full of wastelands. When you drive around it, it's full of kind of like empty patches of grass and things where there used to be stuff from the pottery industry, and that area around the ground is just kind of a mixture of really, really soulless buildings, and then just scrubland and pylons and stuff, and it really is just bleak.
The one beacon of hope was the barge in booze, which, to be fair, I don't think it was there last time we went. But for those who park, if you park sort of, I don't know which direction it is now, but sort of away from the main stand, and you have to cross the motorway. There's a canal, and there's a barge that parks up, and it sells coffees, teas, and also a lot of alcohol, and it's named itself the Barge in Booze, which I thought was quite apt. And I wish actually if we'd been 10 minutes, 50 minutes earlier, we could have had a beer there, couldn't we? But it was we were a bit sort of on the last minute, so it wasn't really appropriate. But I'll bear that in mind in the future. That was actually the one saving grace in that half an hour trudge from car to stadium.
Would have had to barge into the queue to get to Barge in Booze. There's a large queue to get served. Just rubbish everywhere in this scrub area that Mitch mentioned. So Nick, were you deposited straight at the front of the?
Well, we went to one of the designated away pubs, which was called a Terrace, and weren't allowed in because the Armfield coach was there. And it wasn't a big place. It was pretty well. It didn't look big anyway, and there was already a coach there, so the police made us get back on the coach and then took us to the ground. So we ended up across the road in the soulless Harvester. And we were there for probably about 12:30, 1. So we had an hour or two in there and then went into the ground. But it's free. It was all right in the sun, but then as soon as the sun went, like you say, it's just one of those places that's always freezing cold, Stoke, whatever time of the season we seem to go, it's always freezing.
It's because they haven't closed the ends off on the stands, have they? If you kind of think about it, it's the layout's sort of like us on a bigger scale, and you've got kind of your bowl and then a stand that doesn't join up to it properly. But the ends are just completely open, and it just goes around. It's horrible. Oh, it is.
But as Tim, you mentioned in the green room, that was the last time we went there. Was it in the league? We won 1-0.
Yeah, in the league, it was the Premier League year when DJ Campbell scored, wasn't it?
That was the last time I went. And
Played
obviously,
in the cup, didn't we, recently and lost? But yeah, that was the last time in the league.
Yeah, we had that really good performance, wasn't it, at the beginning of... I haven't lost track now, Switch. See, was it Critchley's first full season?
Yeah, we lost on pens, didn't we?
Yeah.
We played it early, didn't we, as part of our pre-season games?
Yeah, it was the League Cup, and it was the first game, but then we arranged the extra game against Liverpool, which made it sort of part.
So we couldn't have gone anyway because it was like when everything was shut, wasn't it? So it really was the first opportunity to go back, really.
Anyway, then, on to the game. Let's get the team sheet up. Blackpool lined up as follows: Grimshaw, Sterling, Ekpiteta, Thornley, James, Dougal, Stewart, Bowler, Hamilton, Lavery, Medine on the bench, Moore, Casey, Conley, Dale, Kirk, Yates and Beasley. Tim, the standout change there was obviously Reece James coming in at left back, Sterling going to right back, and the unfortunate Jordan Gabriel out with a hamstring injury. And on the walk up to the stadium, we were having a conversation who's gonna go into left back. I think we both said we both don't want James playing there, didn't we?
But I think we also thought they would do. I know in the previous show we sort of assuming that Gabriel was fit, we were playing him, and then obviously Sterling at left back. But the reality is he is. Who else are you going to play there? He's the left back, isn't he? The only thing you could arguably have done was bring Casey in and shove Thornley out there. But I think Thornley's been so important to us in the centre.
Or stick Connolly in centre half, maybe.
Whichever, and then push Thornley out onto the left. But I think Thornley's never really played left back for us, so bringing him in that position in an away game that we want to win, I'm not sure that would have been the right idea. So I, to be honest, it was pretty much what, other than the issue over Gabriel, who I noticed was in the away end, which is great to see that he was there. I saw plenty of people having photographs taken with him. And Keshi was there. I don't know if he was there yesterday, but he was at Fulham. So it's great to see the players actually in the away end. And I suspect they actually want to be in there to experience it, don't they? I can imagine when you're on the pitch, and I know Critchley said, "I'd love to get in there," and it's great to see the players in there and having photographs taken and sort of bonding with the fans. But yeah, no, it's what I pretty much expected. I think I called Lavery. I thought Lavery would get the start over Yates, even though personally I prefer Yates as the starter. Reasonably happy with the starting 11, to be fair.
Mitch, Steve Hutchins said spot on with the lineup yesterday, given who was available. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, totally. I like Tim. I like Gaz and Jerry, but I think it was probably time to rotate that. I think Lavery's earned the chance. He's earned the right to have a start, and Jerry probably. He hasn't scored. I thought he played well in his last game, but he didn't score. Hasn't scored for ages. So I think you to make it fair, to make that work, that idea of the two of them sort of the competition, you've got to rotate it to make that work. And I think you have to play Reece James. The other thing you could have done was you could put Connolly at right back and Douge at left back, but I think that would have been too defensive because neither of them really get forward, and it would start to get a bit ridiculous if you're playing two players out of position so that you cannot play one player in his actual position. I think it gets a bit absurd. He's not that bad, He's not Scott Darton, is he? He's yeah. So I think
one's as bad as him.
I'd agree entirely with Steve there. I think best of what you could pick, really.
Nick, anything to add?
No, I'd just echo what Tim and Mitch have said. I called that lineup before the game, which wasn't too difficult, really, when you look who's available. It was just going to be whether it was Lavery or Yates for me. The rest of it, I think, pretty much kind of picks itself with who's available. There's always going to be, Reece James in with Gabriel being injured, unfortunately. But, it gives him a chance now. He's going to get a run in the side, isn't he? Probably for 2-3 games or whatever, so we'll see.
On to the game itself then. Tim, our vantage point which was right at the front.
We had box row seats, didn't we?
We did. Tim's idea to go right at the front. We had Eddie, but it was a great idea though, particularly with what happened in the second half.
Yeah,
but we'll come on to that. So we started the game very well. Tim, Gary Medine, 2 chances in the opening. Was it 50, 20 odd minutes? And obviously, with our vantage point, it was difficult to see how easy or difficult the chances were. And I think we were a bit overly critical of him, because if you watch them back, the first chance, he's the one where he slotted it in. I think the keeper's he's got it past the defender.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, past the keeper. Sorry, and the defender's got it. And the other one, I can't remember the other one. What was the second one?
The other one, CJ was running through and he slid a ball across. And I thought with
too
that
hard.
one,
I thought that was a shot.
I think CJ didn't quite.
No, I don't think it was a shot, because as soon as he gets the ball, all CJ is doing is looking for where Medine is, but he should have shot. I think that's the point. I don't think he did, but he should. He was so focused on trying to cross it that he lost the point, that he actually was cleared through on goal on his left foot, and he should have been able to shoot. And he ends up putting it across the goal, and Medine clashes with ends up colliding with the upright of the far post, doesn't he?
So that was the second of the 2 chances.
That was the second, I think. Yeah,
the CJ one was the first, and then the one where he pulled it down.
Yeah, when he cut in.
The shot was the second one.
So let's talk about that chance
after about
briefly
7 minutes.
So Mitch, talk us through the first chance then. So he's done that little.
Yeah,
from what I've seen, I think he beats the keeper, but a defender sort of slides in and gets the top.
Yeah, he does.
Correctly.
Well, we're on the second chance. We're going to keep swapping around the first and second, but CJ cuts in and he sort of doesn't cross. Bowler turns it around the corner. Medine does this beautiful little shimmy really slowly that somehow the defender buys. And then he leathered it pretty hard. It beat the keeper, and just their defender threw himself behind it, and it just hit the defender on the foot and bounced out. And then when you look at it bounced out, Medine's charging in on it. And then, of all people in the world, who gets in the way of Medine charging onto a header in the box with the keeper on the floor and the defender prone, is the world's greatest header of a footballer, Josh Bowler, who actually gets possibly his first header in a pool shirt. And I've looked this up. It's actually, I think it's his second header in a pool shirt, but I've no memory of his first one, and manages to head it about 12 yards wide from 6 yards out, leaving Gaz just going, ah. So yeah, it was an entertaining chance, but I don't think Medine did much wrong there, and I thought I would have, but I thought he took it down pretty well. I thought he was quite cool in the box to sort of, rather than Snapchat it, make a bit of space and leather it. I don't think he did much wrong.
Which was the chance where CJ ends up basically like completely mishit it, because that was part of one of those. We had what I thought was a rich vein of form in that first 15 minutes, where we were really going at them, and one of them, I can't remember which one it was. CJ just basically comes in on the end of the move, and it was like watching somebody who'd never played football before. Diana Ross in the 1994
USA
World
94
Cup final. It was that bad. You've got to watch it back. It was like, what the hell are you doing
bungs
there?
it wide, doesn't she? The goal still collapses because it's been set up to collapse.
It was that bad, honestly.
And she missed, but the goal still collapsed, didn't it? Those of a certain vintage. Luckily, everyone on here.
Well, it's a bit worrying that I can remember Diana Ross 28 years ago, whatever it is, missing, but I can't remember what CJ did yesterday.
So you have to go watch it again. Watch it again. Honestly, you'll see the symmetry between what he did and what she did.
Tim, if you remember, I was questioning your vocabulary. I said, "Is it a profligate when you miss a load of chances or something? Profligate in front of goal." Was that the word?
That's the right word.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he came out with that yesterday, so well deserved, I think.
I wanted to get my very own Timism on the show, but I was just running it by the great man first.
He did it.
Sure.
I'm not sure it works quite as well when you have to ask somebody else, is that the right word before you say it? I think you do have to come out of it. Just let it flow, John. Just let it flow.
I don't look like an idiot, do I?
Well, no, but most times, even if you get
Shut
it
it,
wrong,
Nick, don't say
nobody's actually going to know.
Can hear my thinking then, John.
No, see the little cogs going in his brain. Say some little cutting remark. Reply. First half then.
Stoke had that
generally.
chance, didn't they? Nick Powell at the far post, ball came across and he managed to put it right the way across and wide. I thought it was quite a decent chance that, and he might have put it away. And then was it Madja hit? It wasn't a very well hit shot, was it? I think it just caught Grimshaw a bit wrong-footed, and he was going the other way and struggled to get across, and it just trickled and hit the post, didn't it?
It was one of those ones that was always going wide, even though it did hit the post. I almost did a Smith at that one. I was just on my way to the half-time refreshment stands. Just saw it though.
Yeah.
But first half generally. Then we happy with what we saw.
I was. It's just you think, are we going to rue not taking our chances? You know, at half-time, you think we've had a couple of really good chances there, haven't put them away. As poor as Stoke were, you're just wondering whether they're going to have one chance and put it away. But thankfully, that didn't prove to be the case.
What's also nice about Stoke was every time we ever used to go, it was one of those grounds that had that really intimidating atmosphere. And it's gone, hasn't it? It's completely gone.
Yeah.
That was their biggest crowd of the season, I think, because they had it was to do with celebrating their League Cup win, wasn't it? 50 years since the League Cup win. And so they had a big crowd on. And we literally, in the first half, I think we heard them a couple of times. Second. First off, never heard them. And I always remember Stoke being somewhere you went and it was like a proper home support. A little bit like ours is now, arguably.
I don't think there was much. Sorry, go on, Tim.
No, it doesn't matter whether there's much. There was never anything from the start from them. They got that awful pre-match song. I know, whatever you think about Tom Jones' Delilah, the way they used to sing that before the game was iconic, wasn't it, at the time? And whether it's perhaps done its day, but they had this crap song on beforehand, which just drowned everybody out, and you couldn't hear yourself speak. And then you never heard them for the rest of the game, and I just thought it was quite poor.
On the way out, I overheard a couple of Stoke fans talking, and they were sort of saying they envied us, and they said something that was quite interesting. They said they envied us. They said, I envy Blackpool. They've been through shit with their owners, but they've been, what did they say? They've been up, down, and up again. At least it's been different for them. At least, and you can really feel that they're enjoying football again. He said, he said something like, it feels like I've been coming to watch the same game every Saturday for about the last 4 years. And, like with the Premier League, obviously, when they got there, that was a massive thing. And then they just had this endless grind of staying in the Premier League, playing very negative football, and they've dropped out of the Premier League, and they just still seem like this grinding kind of negative side. And I thought it was quite a telling comment in terms of the atmosphere. There was no excitement. They just didn't seem to have any. There was no players who they got sort of felt like you get that buzz when that player gets the ball. The only time I can remember was when they brought the lad. Tyrese Campbell on. I think he's one of their own players, or certainly I think they like him. That was the only time there was any buzz about anything that actually happened in the game. Otherwise, it just felt like they were just sat flatly watching it. And since they've come down to the Championship, they just seem to have been stuck in mid-table, don't they? It
was interesting when we go back to the car, and actually I was a bit ahead of John and Eddie, and I heard this guy saying, and our budget's 5 times theirs. And I didn't say anything to him, but I thought by saying, well, your budget means fuck all, basically, because it's about having a team. And, they're paying Joe Allen somewhere between, I've heard various versions on the pod, it was 57 grand a week, and somebody on Saturday said it was 70 grand a week. And he was sub. So you do you wonder what the thought process is there. But it must be, if you're just basically stuck in that mid-table, it must get a little bit monotonous. And they're one, and as Sean said on Thursday night on the pre-match, they're one of those teams who think they're better than they are. It's like they're like the Derbies and various other teams who think we should be in the Premier League and we should be beating teams like Blackpool. That's the type of comment you're going to get from Stoke fans, because they think they're big and they're not quite as big as they think they are.
Well, O'Neill seems quite a boring manager as well, in the sense he did really well with Northern Ireland, which is, with Northern Ireland, your job's make them tough, sort of score on the break, and he seems to have just taken exactly the same approach with Stoke that he did with Northern Ireland, and I can see that being deeply frustrating if you're actually paying out 50, 70k a week on players and you're setting up like that, which wasn't very ambitious at all. He never really went at us. I mean, they looked okay on the break, but it was like they were playing on the break at home, and you can see why they were just flat.
I mean, if you're a Stoke fan, imagine having to do that trudge to that stadium week in, week out. I can understand why the atmosphere is like that in that place.
I actually carried our rubbish till I found a bin, but I don't know why I bothered.
I said to Tim, "It's in the stadium, just toss it down there. You're not going to make it any worse."
Said to you, didn't it, John? My lad looked at one of the signs and it said something like "no fly tipping here." We could get onto the oysters again, but let's not. No fly tipping here. And my lad sort of looked at it and went, "Dad, it should say it is compulsory to fly tip here, because it looks like everybody has done." Which I thought was
no, just fly tipping here.
Yeah.
Hey, tip your fly here. Fly your tip. Fly tip here. Fly tip here. But
you do wonder why the council don't clear it up, and it just shows like a pride, doesn't it? Listen, I did it at that bargain, the bargain booze, didn't I? Put our rubbish there, but people, it's just rubbish everywhere. It's just disgusting.
I have to say though, in a way,
we live in a shithole apparently.
Well, I do. Part of me, I do quite like bleak places, and a part of me gives them a plus mark for having a literal power station on the way into the ground, which is, that's quite good. It felt like we're in Far East. It felt like we're in Far Eastern Europe or something. It felt like a ground in Albania or something like that, with that big
huge
power
chimney
belching out smoke. And
I'm sure Stoke's twinned with Tirana, from what I can recall.
Yeah, it probably is.
But if you think about, I can just harking back to that question or comment that Tim heard. I was at Mitch about Stoke. Whenever they've gone up, they've always gone up as champions, haven't they? Like dominate a league, just going straight up. Then they've never had the kind of the glory that we've had of 6 dramatic playoff victories at Wembley. They've just gone up, or they've just come straight back down and just hovered mid-table all the time. And yeah, it's just great being a Blackpool fan at the moment. It's just thank our lucky stars. We have these, to coin a phrase, a cliche, roller coaster rides right onto the second half. Then Tim, we were just kind of bored for the vast majority of the.
It was probably the bar the last 10 minutes. Or that's actually, I think we can say the last 5 minutes plus stoppages. It was the worst 40 minutes of football that I can recall watching. It was absolutely, excuse the vernacular, dog shit. That was that bad. It really was an awful, awful second half. I've rewatched it, and I had to put the proverbial matches in my eyes to keep going, because it was pretty turgid stuff.
And I think the only thing I said, what was it? He said, Tim. The only thing was it you said? The only thing that will sort of make this game come to life
is a last minute
winner. He said the only thing that will lift this game from this general malaise is a last minute winner.
Yeah, and how prophetic was that? Well, not quite last minute, but we weren't far off, were we?
Anyone got anything else to say about the second half?
Well, when I went to write my blog, I sort of sat down and I thought, what happened in the second half? And I actually couldn't think of anything. I was kind of just like, well, we scored. I couldn't think of anything else that had happened. And I had a look on the BBC Live text. It says, shot by whoever, and it was just yellow card. Ball goes out of play, and nothing seemed to have happened there either.
I've thought of something. And to be fair, it was great. Josh Bowler's run down the right.
Oh, yeah, that was superb.
And I said to Eddie at half time, because John went to get some snacks for him and Eddie, and I said to Eddie, we've got a great vantage point to watch Bowler in the second half, and when they did that, it was almost worth the admission money just to watch that run. I know he overran it at the end, but the early stages of it were just absolutely sublime. So
talk about
every
three of them
credit
out,
to the birthday boy.
There was.
Sorry, go on, Nick.
Gary Ford's just mentioned it. Actually, the Thornley's injury, which the problem is my view was, which for the second half maybe wasn't bad. I couldn't see a lot because there wasn't a lot to see, but it was eye level with the crossbar, so you had to duck to try and see what was going on. So I didn't see it at the time when it happened, but someone put it on Twitter since it. It looks like a bad foul on him, and obviously he's had to go off from it. I don't know if there's been any update today on how he said it was whiplash. Did they say?
It's weird when you watch it. The challenge, and he looks like he falls a bit funny as he lands. But then I forgot the Stoke player's name. He comes around back of him, and he almost like whacks him in the back after the incident, and then Thornley hits the deck, and he's got a shoulder injury. And I don't think the ref saw it. I don't think anybody else saw it. But it's to be fair, the commentators on the Tangerine TV replay say, that's like quite nasty. It's out of order.
Well, there's a guy behind me went absolutely apoplectic, but it was one of them that was quite odd because it wasn't sort of he'd headed it clear, hadn't it? And the ball had gone back into midfield. So everybody had sort of followed the ball, except obviously the guy behind me who went absolutely apoplectic and started, he's just smacked him in the back of the head. Just whacked him in the back of the head. Ref, fucking hell, ref, he's just smacked. And nobody else reacted. So it was kind of quite surreal because normally the crowd goes up as one. So I wasn't sure whether, sometimes you see things through tangerine glasses, don't you? And I'm not sure if he had, but when I watched the replay, it really does look like he deliberately flicks into the back of his head to me. It looks really nasty.
The other highlight of the second half was John taking a picture of this one of these stewards who, bear in mind you're outside, who managed to have a mask on and then the visor over the top of the mask just to be on the safe side. And it's but I don't normally go down the front, but there's some very strange people who take on those jobs as those stewards.
Do you remember the steward at the beginning when I said, "Can you move?"
Yeah.
And I was like, was he like a deaf dumb mute or something? He just kind of got in my face a bit and just stood there.
And then we had the big girl with all the false tan and the huge eyelashes and the long nails on. I'm thinking she's going to be good in a fight, isn't she?
I had
into the pitch. She's going to be good.
I had near me a lad who looked. If I say Spencer from Phoenix Nights, then he was very sweet. He was very nice because we got there stupidly early, and I had a pint in the concourse. And for whatever reason, Rowan didn't really like standing around in the concourse. I think it's because when all the lads come in, it gets really noisy and stuff. It's a bit intimidating for a kid. So he's like, "Dad, can we go up to the stand? Can we go up to the stand?" I was like, "Rowan, we've got an hour yet." And he's like, "Can we go up to the stand? Can we go up to the stand?" So we went and sat at the stand, and there's just me and him. And the steward, he starts chatting to me, and he says, "Oh, I'm a Bolton fan." And I just said, "Well, I'd keep that a bit quiet if I were you." And he said, "Oh, why?" And I said, "Well, we don't like Bolton very much, but you're all right. I'll keep it under my hat." He went, "Oh," and then he didn't say anything else and just went, "You see her down there?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "She got kicked in face the other week by Nottingham Forest fans." And I went, "Great." He was chatting to me for about 20 minutes. And I thought, where have they got these stewards from? because none of them were from Stoke. Seemingly, they were from some kind of company that do lots of stewarding at different grounds.
I don't think any of them had been there before because none of
No.
them had any idea what to do. We were, obviously, when you're at the front, you see it. The none of it like that. The one who stood in front of us just thought he was going to stand up all their whole game. We're going, wait a minute, we want to watch the game. You're like basically obstructing the view.
I was literally looking him in the eye. I said, "Can you move?" When the game had kicked off, and it was like he couldn't even speak English, or it was, had some sort of like mental impairment. And it took. I said, "Can you move?" And he it didn't react or anything. He just continued staring at me.
I got my ticket.
Am I speaking English? Am I speaking the Queen's English here?
I got my ticket checked by 4 different people who were all
Same here.
each other and could all see each other checking my ticket.
Yeah, going in for the second half, they went, "Can I see
It's
your ticket?"
surreal.
And he was mentioning a colour, saying it needs to be green or something. So I don't know whether like one block was overcrowded. So at half time, they decided to try and sort it out. So I showed it the first guy, took 2 steps forward. Next one, where's the ticket? I'm like, I've just put it back in my pocket. I need to see it. Right, they are. Next, what? Three people in a row.
Yeah.
The police and stewards were down right near behind the goal. I think, to be honest, a load of our lads had just basically congregated there, like 3 to a seat. And I think they were trying to stop that a little bit. I suspect that was what was behind it. But you got collared, didn't you, John, at half time about with your hands full of your confectionery, whatever you'd bought.
Yeah. So they could see me, hands completely full. No way. And they said, and they were blocking off the concourse as well. They were blocking off the steps. It was rammed. People trying to get in, people get out. So they were causing an even worse bottleneck. And he said, "Can I see his tickets?" And I said, "Well, no, because I've got my hands full. I've got 2 hot drinks in each hand and I don't even know where they are." He said, "Well, you can't come in then." I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I'm in the stadium." He said, "Well, you can't go in if I can't see your ticket." And I said, "Well, my 8-year-old son's down there and I am coming in, so let me pass." And they just let me pass then when they were seeing I was getting a bit irate. But
the lad next to me said there was a group of lads next to me, and they came and they said, "Oh, I've had a load of shit off the stewards." He said, "What?" He said, "I just said my little lad's up there," and then there's like 3 of them who are like 25 pissed out their heads. And the steward, "Oh, there you go."
So that's the thing to say, isn't it? Even if you have not.
Yeah.
Remember that one? We had that at Fulham a bit as well. We had a bit of nonsense at Fulham,
did.
So it seems to be a recurring theme at the moment.
I think Fulham were actually worse. I think they were the worst. So obviously, because we're talking about stewarding, because that was pretty much the only thing that happened in the second half. But something, Nick, certainly did happen on 86 minutes. Just prior to that, obviously, we need to mention the substitution of Shane Love for Jerry Yates on 83 minutes. I personally didn't think he'd have much of an impact on the game, and how wrong I was.
Indeed, yeah. It was so Medine won the flick on from the goal kick, didn't he? And then the interplay between Bowley and Yates was just absolutely fantastic, and particularly Yates's last ball through to Bowler, it was almost telepathic. And, still had a bit to do, but slotted it home perfectly, and absolute pandemonium in their way. And I finished up in a different block, I think, in about 5 rows forward, next to this old bloke.
While you were changing block in midair, was there a steward there saying,
"Can I see your ticket?" Yeah. Oh, it was absolute, because loads of people, I think, were kind of on the steps as well, and they all legged it down to the front. There was people going absolutely everywhere, hugging stewards. It was absolutely phenomenal. Yeah,
we had Andy Grice standing on the wall. Well, is it a Sharpie? 55, and probably I'm guessing Andy's nearer 60. Should know better. Basically acting like 20-year-olds standing on walls, trying to orchestrate the crowd, and it was quality.
I ended up stood on my seat, punching the air and with me just lad looking at me going, "Oh God, Dad, what are you doing? What are you doing?" It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. When next to me, because I sort of, when we score, I don't know if you do this, John, but sometimes I kind of just go and go over my lad, because people come over the chairs, and I kind of go and just make sure. And I kind of, as I looked to my side, it was almost like people were streaming past the next seat. There was like a bloke there, and then another bloke came. It was fantastic. It's absolutely superb. I haven't been at the back for an away game for ages. I always seem to get the seats at the front. I don't know if some clubs kind of have this thing where
if you've got a kid,
if you've got a kid, you end up at the front. And obviously, I'm not going to go up the back with him, but we had seats at the back, and they were being quite picky. I just loved it. It was just magical.
The goal itself, the interplay between Yates and Bowler, it just reminded me a bit of DJ Campbell and Dobby. You know, that goal, that goal against Forest. It was just sublime.
Yeah, it was.
There was still a bit to do, though, wasn't there? I was apoplectic when I saw 8 minutes go up since Newton, wasn't I? Where the fucking hell's he got 8 minutes?
But yeah, when you watch the game back, there are 2 quite long stoppages in the game, aren't there? Particularly in the second half. I mean, I think the Thornley one was nearly 5 minutes on its own, so you can sort of see where it came
With
from.
Stubbs.
Albeit when you're 1-0 up and you've gone 1-0 up on the 87th minute, the last thing you want to see is an 8-minute board go up.
We did miss a chance, though. Gaz missed a chance, Mitch, didn't he?
He did. Obviously, I'm going to defend him, but I just thought it was a bit behind him, to be honest. I thought it was a bit, I'm not going to go, oh, Gaz, it was a terrible miss, am I? Let's be honest. You know what you're going to get from me. But I thought he was a bit behind him. He's not lethal.
But Medin's flick on for the goal. That's poetry in motion, wasn't it? Towered over that defender.
Well, he's more of a number 10 than an out-and-out striker. It's our Gary, the world's biggest, slowest number 10. Creative genius at the back. He's kind of like a Bobby Firmino type. I'm just saying that because if Sean's still on the stream, he'll be angry. If Sean's still if our accredited friend is still on the chat,
Bobby who? Who did you say? Bobby
Firmino, Liverpool. He's the Liverpool lad that's the creative fulcrum of their attack. The brains behind the whole operation, while the lesser intelligent players, the fast ones, run about and score goals. Bobby just pulls strings, and that's Medin's role in life, as well as being the leading target man in the top two tiers of English football.
I don't like him because last time I went to watch Liverpool with Ray Gregson, we were sat next to all his family, and his bloody mother spent the whole game going to and from the concession thing to buy sweets and drinks for everybody because there's about 20 of them over from Brazil.
Right.
And she didn't seem to have any comprehension of the fact that people were actually there watching the game. So he was having to stand up. And then as soon as he got substituted, they all fucked off. They all cleared off for about 60 minutes, just left. It's like, we're only here to see Bobby.
I thought you saw Bobby Zamora at first. Another similar type.
Well, I've actually I've actually served Bobby Zamora a chicken drumstick, which sounds a bit dicey, doesn't it? But I have actually served Bobby Zamora at a buffet when I used to work in catering, and he was quite surly. I don't think he's so thinking.
That's like one of your 50 minutes of fame, that isn't it? It's
absolutely. I've served Bobby Zamora and Brian Lara. I've served them both with a chicken's drumstick when I worked at Park Hall in Chorley, or near Chorley.
We did say we were going to do a special pod segment on a normal show, didn't we? Tenuous interactions with football. So you've got a couple of good ones there. So Nick, just as we thought the 3 points were in the bag, it was still a bit dicey with 8 minutes to go, and everyone's heart sank as they saw Jerry Yates give the ball away in midfield. It gets played through to what was he?
Stephen Fletcher.
Stephen Fletcher.
Yeah.
Races through on goal. But thank God Grimmy saves the day again with another superb save.
He tends to do one a game, doesn't he? And thank God he did them, because it would have been a massive injustice. Stoke hadn't really done anything, certainly in the second half. And I saw him go through and thought, because it was Fletcher who scored at our place earlier in the season, wasn't it? When he shouldn't have even been on the pitch.
Was that right at death as well, wasn't it? Was it?
I think so, yeah. And I just thought, he's going to equalise and they don't deserve it. But great from Grimshaw, got out quickly, spread himself, made himself big and made a great save. And thankfully, we got the 3 points and it was deserved.
And again, it was celebrated almost like a goal, wasn't it? It was brilliant. Sort of that last 10 minutes was magic because kind of every tackle, every header away, and particularly that Grimmy save was its own little celebration, which I think made it feel even better when you come out because it felt almost as if we'd won 3-0 because of the amount of times that we just, Casey had come on and he'd looked a little bit shaky and the sort of ball up to him and he head it away and everyone went up with that and it was lovely.
Where's Fletcher's hair come from, by the way? I'm sure when at Burnley he didn't have hair like that. He's almost copying Hubby, isn't he, with his little man bun at the back? And
I think it was a lockdowns thing because when we played him in the League Cup, he actually looked like a proper tramp. He looked an absolute mess when we played them in the League Cup, which was the first sort of proper game after lockdown. He was all over the place. So he's neatened himself up a bit with that man bun, but he really did. I've got a bit of a thing for when footballers look like normal people. I really like that. When you see a footballer and they don't have the footballer haircut, they look like or they're a bit tubby or whatever. I always like to see that. And Fletcher was it was one of the highlights of last season because he looked like he should have been sat outside Boots drinking meth or something.
You like Grimmy because he looks a bit dossy, don't you?
I love Grimmy's dossy look.
Here we go. He's had an hair transplant. That's where it's come from, Tim.
Has
where
he?
it's come from, has he? I thought he was a bit follically challenged when he was at Burnley.
Well,
And so it's a very successful transplant. He's got bloody loads of it now. Unless he's got a bit of weaving in there as well. I don't know.
Might be a syrup. We did say nothing happened in the second half, but be very remiss to not talk about Big Gaz's expert shithousery in the corner. That was so funny.
He robbed the ball. He managed to lie on the ball for about 15 seconds, head up, concede a throw, run over, nick the ball off the guy who's taking the throw, run away, get pushed over. He took about 10 seconds to actually fall over after being pushed over, kept hold of the ball, then eventually the guy knew of him. And then he had an argument with the ref about why was he getting booked when he'd been pushed over. And he must have taken about 90 seconds out just from that. It was
he ran away with the ball. It was like somebody, and then he gets pushed over. He's like all indignant, like, ref, he just pushed me over.
Yeah, it was the way he got up like butter wouldn't melt. You see that, ref?
Plus, just before that, he was doing well just holding the ball in the corner as well, wasn't he?
He's very good at that, to be fair, Dean, I think. It's
just knocking off the legs, getting throw-ins, corners, that kind of thing. Steve, yes, you are right. The Stoke lad should have been booked for the push. He's kind of got away with that. But
I think he got away with it because Medine was. I wonder when he was going to stop running. how far down the pitch he was going to go before he let go of the ball.
It's like one of those like old 20s silent cops and robbers movies, isn't it? Where someone's playing the piano because there's no speech and they're running after him, chasing him.
What was good to see was that when we were defending that lead, we weren't defending it for me by sitting back and letting them come on to us. We were actually coming on to them. And I think actually the Stoke fans commented about it in there on the OK that, what's going on. Blackpool have gone 1-0 up with 87 minutes, but they're not defending. They're actually still coming at us. And, at the end of the day, the best way of defending is to attack, isn't it? And we did try and keep that ball. I thought other than the Fletcher chance, I thought for the most part, we did keep that ball down in their half of the pitch a lot more than we would normally do and that we've seen in other games. And that's quite good to see.
CJ did well as well in the same way. So Gaz did well in one corner and CJ did really well in the end. He had about 2 or 3 runs in that half, and then I think he finished it and taken out. But there was also that wonderfully wild Callum Connolly challenge that you mentioned in the chat, John, which I just loved it.
It was brilliant.
I love how he'd only been on the beat. He just seems to have to get booked.
He only came on in injury time.
Yeah, he just seems to have to get booked in a game. It's like he's on a bet with himself about how many times he can get booked in a season. It was absolutely filthy. It was brilliant.
I think he must have thought coming on in injury time, and you've got to come on and injure someone.
Yeah, I took it literally.
And as I said on my message, I thought it was hilarious the way the Stoke player went down. Like, obviously, it was a very robust challenge, don't get me wrong. But he's gone down like he's been shot from a sniper in the stands, starts rolling around in agony, and then realizes, hang on a minute, we're deep into injury time. I'm not hurt. You just jump. He sprung straight back up into the air, put on a few like fake limps for 3 steps, and then he ran off. It was a great end to the game anyway. Right, let's move on to player ratings, starting with you, Nick, with Dan Grimshaw, the goalie.
I will give him an 8 out of 10. He didn't have loads to do, but when he was called upon, particularly in the 98th minute or whatever it was, he's made the save of the game and secured us the 3 points. His distribution was good as ever. He's just very, very solid keeper, isn't he? And I mean, I don't know how far away Maxwell is from a comeback, but I honestly can't see him getting back in. He's firmly cemented his place as number one, and he just gets better and better. And 8 out of 10.
I think I think you nail it there, Nick. Sometimes in games, he just doesn't have to do anything, but he just pulls it out of the bag in these emergency situations. And he's done that multiple times this season. So yeah, I think
we also underrate his ball work when he's because how many times a game does he get that ball passed back to him, and how many times does he actually cock it up? Not saying he doesn't ever do it, but the number of times, percentage-wise, are very, very low. And he's a great last line of defence. He really is.
I think we just did say that when he first started, he was just a bit suspect, wasn't he, in those first few games? But since we slagged him off, it's all disappeared.
Well, I think our issue was he didn't get the length that Maxwell got with his clearances. But actually, what we're appreciating as we watch him more and more is he's more accurate with the way that he distributes the ball. Yeah. Probably a lot more than Maxwell. So.
Do you want a fun Grimshaw fact? Is he's actually the footballer in the top 2 tiers that kicks it long most of any footballer in the top 2 tiers.
Right.
What does that say then, that we punt it long more than?
I think what it said. In a sense, yes. I think we go back to front quite a lot. If you watch us play, we do go back to front quite a lot, and we've really stopped doing that side to side across the defence thing that we did. If you remember, sort of going back to sort of September, October, we were kind of going, we keep doing that. Sort of out to Marvin across the defence, back to the keeper, out to Marvin again, out to the fullback side, and we were getting really pissed off with it. And actually now we go quite quickly back to front, and try and hit Gaz a lot.
It's all about the second ball there, isn't it? It's a little bit like we did in the Premier League here with Everett and playing his diagonals into the wide positions. And then it's us, we get a touch and it's the second ball. You've got to win the second ball. And so it's very effective. It's a lot more effective than passing it across the back all the time.
And I think it works as well having CJ in that forward line as well, because CJ is not only shit off a shovel quick into the corner, but he's also not bad in the air as well. So, for the winger, he's pretty good in the air as wingers go. I mean, I know bowlers basically doesn't exist in the air, but CJ's not bad at all in the air for a wide player. So we can hit Gaz, or we can go for that ball in the corner over the top to CJ, or if it comes up with CJ against a fullback, and fullbacks tend to be littler than centre halves, then quite often CJ will win it or get a knock on as well. And I think it's quite effective. And like you say, that diagonal ball, Thornley whips them as well. So we have become a hell of a lot more direct, I think, than we started the season.
Right, Mitch, Dujon Sterling.
I thought Douche played well. I read some stuff on one of the Blackpool forums that suggested he hadn't, and I found that quite confusing. I thought he had a really good game. He got done a little bit. He got run out a little bit, but not so much that it became a pattern. I think he was a little bit standoffish a couple of times when he was run out, but other than that, I thought he was really abrasive in the tackle. I thought he got forward well. I thought he did a sort of a reasonable impression of what Gabriel brings to the team in getting forward and work nicely with bowler. So I'm going to give him an 8+.
Big Marv, Tim.
I thought it was a rock as usual. It's we keep talking about how well he plays each week, and there's low and the short of it is he just never lets you down. However he's going to play, he's always going to give it 100%, and 95% of the time he wins the tackles and he makes sure he clears his lines. So I think it's another good performance by him. I think it's an 8+.
And big Jord, Nick, John Thornley.
Yeah, again, I thought he did well, obviously up until going off with the injury. He just, when you think where he was, he's out on loan and not looking like he's going to come back and play for us. The way he's settled in since he's come back, he's consistent every week, isn't he? He doesn't let us down. I think his distribution's good with that diagonal ball. I'm going to go 8 for Jordan Thornley.
Right, Mitch, Reece James.
I was hoping I didn't have. Yeah, I was hoping I didn't have this one because I personally didn't think he played very well. But we sort of talked this through in the chat, and there was some quite different opinions. I know Sean didn't think he played very well. Somebody alluded to it before. Tim made the comment, which I thought was fair, that actually when you watch the highlights, he does some quite good stuff. But I felt like that the highlights were quite kind to him. I thought he did play some good balls into the box, and I can't deny that. But I also thought he looked shaky. I noticed Richard has gone for a high score for him. When I looked on Twitter, there was a kind of
score for everybody though.
Well, so. Yeah, but I thought he looked really shaky, and I thought for every good ball there was in the box, there was some really poor passes. He sort of dropped passes short or played balls out just sort of straight back out to their midfield, and he was the player as they ran at us or came at us as the player that kind of, there was one point where he's just nowhere where a left back should be. But then, I don't know if this is confirmation bias, because last week on the pod I said I didn't think he was very good, so therefore I'm looking for him to be not very good. So I'm going to go for a 7- personally, but I'm willing for other podders to moderate that score. Nick.
Well, I wasn't going to change the score particularly, but it was interesting. I put I don't know if you saw the screenshot of that. I'd seen it on Twitter from one of the Stoke online magazines. They'd said, who was their left back? He was outstanding. So it's interesting, isn't it, that people can see it differently, and they've as opposition fans, he's stood out to them. Like I said at the start of the pod, I think he's probably going to get a bit of a run in the side now, isn't he? Certainly until Husband is fit. So maybe like with Callum Connolly, he was a bit shaky when he was in and out of the side, wasn't he? And then when he actually got a run of 3 or 4 games or whatever, he looked pretty decent. So, maybe that'll be the same with Reece James. But I think if everyone's fit, we know he probably doesn't start, but he's going to get his chance now, isn't he, over the next few games?
It's interesting because I would have given him a 6 based on when I left the stadium. If I was doing the scores, I'd have given him a 6. And when I watched it back, and I didn't watch the whole game back because I've been out today, but I watched a reasonable chunk of the first half, and then from about, I flicked a bit, but from 60 minutes in the second half, and I actually think he actually did okay. And I think sometimes we have our perception of certain players, and I think those perceptions carry through. So when you've got perception, I've got a perception that Reece James isn't very good, and therefore you probably focus a little bit more on the things they don't do good, and then slightly miss some of the things that are a little bit better. And I think he did quite a lot good, and I think he deserves at least a 7, if not 7+. I did say pre-match I would have given him an 8. I think that was probably a bit generous, but it was a competent performance for me.
I'll go to 7. I can see like it really matters. Like the whole world are going, oh no, he's gone to 7 now. But I'll go to 7. I'll be talked around.
Right, onto the midfield. Kenny Dougal. Who are we on? Tim?
Yeah.
If we take the corner, shall we take?
If we ignore his set plays, which were awful, but I don't think he should be. I don't think Kenny Dougal should be anywhere near set plays, and I can't understand having managed kids who can put a ball into the box time after time after time without any problem. I can't believe we've got a team that have a complete inability to take a corner and or a free kick.
Oh, that free kick, we forgot about that free kick.
There was
We had a
about
great
three
chance.
of them that were absolutely shocking. And we got two. Listen, but if I ignore that and focus on what he's in the team to do, which is to water carry in that defensive area, I thought he did a superb job again. And I think what I'm not going to focus on is the fact that he's been shoehorned into doing stuff that he shouldn't be doing. You know, who it should be, I don't know. But I struggle with the concept that in a team of 11 players who get paid professionally, we can't put a decent ball in on any set play. Every single set play was wasted, as far as I'm concerned, on Saturday. And that's something that as a team we have to look at, because that isn't right. That's where you've got your best chance. You know, we've got Medine. We've got Medine in there. We're putting a ball across. Why Medine doesn't go to the back post? We were saying this, weren't we, John, during the game? Why Medine is going front post and not heading to the back post? Because every ball comes flying over the back. And if he's ever got to, I think the goal he scored with his great header, he was at the back post, but he was nowhere near it at all at any point. So I think there's some serious work to do on that, but that's for another point. Getting back to Dougal, in his job, I thought he was superb. I'm not going to downgrade him for those set plays because he shouldn't be doing them. It's an 8+. A very, very good central midfield performance.
And next, speaking of very good central midfield performances, was Kevin Stewart, Kenny's partner.
Yeah, he's great. You know, I just wish he'd played more for us, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that he stays fit, because he's absolute class. He's just so comfortable on the ball. You know, Stoke are a physical side, and he's a Rolls Royce of a player, isn't he? And you realise when he doesn't play how much we miss him. You know, as well as Conley did when he was in there. But for me, it's got to be he's one of the first names on the team sheet if he's fit. I thought he had a great game, so I'm going to give him a 9.
Mitch, you've got the man of the moment, Josh Bowler, scorer of the goal. Does he come ahead of 9? Does he get a great score than 9?
I think he can have a 9+, which kind of hopefully represents his monetary value to us in summer, where I fear he will be gone, much as I would love him not to be. He was. CJ did really well first half, and I think Bowler kind of was, to use our own pod, creative player, that gravity player that took sort of players away from CJ. And he was
3 at one point.
Yeah,
You had 3 players around Bowler pretty much every time.
Yeah. He was quiet in periods because he was kind of absolutely stifled. But the run that Tim pointed out was just astonishing. I actually literally shouted out very loudly, "What a fucking player! What a player! What a player!" Just at the top of my voice to nobody in particular after that run, because it was just one of them things that he does where you just grateful to have been there to see it. It was the Preston run again where they were trying to break his legs, and he was just vaulting over the top of them. It was wonderful. And I thought he really came into it second half, and then just his football with Jerry for the goal was just superb. And I thought about that sort of goal, which was kind of funny that I've been banging this drum that we don't have enough creativity and we don't have these creative players. And then we score a goal like that. You know, we scored 4 goals last week, and we're finding that creativity and players are stepping up. So it was excellent. I'll give him a 9+.
And also very good on the other side was CJ Hamilton Tim.
First half, I would say. I thought he had a better first half than a second. Although I do also think the distribution to him in the second half was nowhere near as good. I know actually where I noticed with James, and if I'm going to criticise him, it is that the balls to CJ, there's quite a few found touch, I thought, in the second half where they weren't quite accurate enough. I also he put a good cross for that one for the Dean skied over. I think Jerry was fuming, but I think it still was the right ball. I do think he should have shot when he got through rather than pass it to try and pass it across the box to Medine. I think he was too focused on that. But overall, I think it was an effective performance. I think he's showing his mettle in the Championship. So I think it's an 8. I think it was effective.
Okay, Nick, Bolton FC's very own Shane Lavery.
Yeah, didn't have a lot of chances, but a bit like Jerry does when it's not really happening for him. He still puts a hell of a shift in. A lot of effort. He'll chase all day. So I'm gonna go 7+.
I just thought on Lavery, just adding on that, I thought his link-up play was kind of improved. I think he sometimes looks like he just wants to chase after things, and I felt like today he came back and got involved, and he played some quite nice passes as well, and I was quite encouraged by that because he looked. He sort of looks to me like this curious blend of somebody that's kind of really, really good, but also sometimes just looks a bit raw in the way he played. And I thought he's either been very, very good or gets lost in a game. And I thought he managed in that game to get involved in the game and play his part in the game without looking outstanding, which was quite encouraging, I thought. So I enjoyed his performance.
And finally, Mitch, guess who you've got?
Well, 11+ for Gary. No,
I'll flick it in.
Yeah.
Ooh, Gary Medine. In fact, let's do it like this.
Gaz is not a lethal finisher. Gaz is a much more all-round player than that, as I've already established. Maybe with his 3 chances, he probably should have walked away from that game with a goal. I don't think any of them were particularly terrible. I thought Tim was a bit harsh saying Medine skied the cross. I did genuinely think it was a bit behind him. But he probably should have got a goal out of it. Having said that, he was everywhere. He disrupted the defence. They didn't like playing him. Stoke were a big, ugly bunch of lads who were no sort of shrinking violets themselves. He plays like Jagielka in there. And he absolutely did his job and disrupted stuff. He gets an extra mark for the shithousery at the end of the game. That was just a thing of beauty, and obviously flick on for the goal. So Gaz, 8+, I think for Gaz. 9, 8+.
Do you not think we were saying in the second half? He actually seemed more intent on having his little Barney with the centre back than he did actually playing football at one point. And I find it a little. I must admit, he will be back with the shithousery at the end. But I found it a little bit frustrating when the ball was coming forward. Him and the centre back were more thinking about who could knock each other over or trip each other up or pull each other than they were actually. Certainly they were about where the ball was. And I just think I thought he lost a little bit of focus because I think that whatever it was, they're having a right. To be fair, they're having a right good battle between each other. But
all I can say to that, Tim, is doubt is as big a part of faith as anything.
Right, okay. Well, I'll go back. I'll go back and do a few Hail Marys or Hail Medines.
Hail Medines. Right, man of the match, Nick. Tough one. It's a tough one.
Yeah, it is.
Is it? Are we looking beyond Josh Bowler?
I think Kevin Stewart's a contender.
Who we got contenders? Pateta was good. Stone.
Yeah.
Thornley was good again.
Yeah.
Stewart was good. Bowler was good. Hamilton was good.
I thought Dukes was really good. I actually thought Dukes played better yesterday than he did last week when he got 2 assists. I thought the game he got 2 assists, he was a bit dicey at points, but I was really impressed, and particularly with the way he carried the ball in this game. He's doing that thing where he turns in tight areas and just finds that bit of space and plays a pass. I was impressed with Dukes. There's loads in there.
Yeah. This is tough. I think
It
it's
is.
between. I think for me, it's between Bowler and Stewart, and it's a cigarette paper between them. I'm going to go Stewart because I'm guessing others will go Bowler. I'm going to go Stewart.
Mitch.
Well, I'm going to go with Dougal. I think again. I think there's a fag paper between about 5 of them, 5 or 6 of them, and I thought I just every time Kenny got the ball, he seemed to do something simple, sensible, constructive with it. He put in some lovely tackles, and I'm having to try and think why I'm not giving it to Kevin Stewart or Bowler. But I thought Bowler, it's probably harsh to say Bowler was kind of only effective in spells because he was devastatingly effective in those spells. I thought Stewart just dallied on the ball a couple of times and gave it away, whereas I can't really remember, apart from the shite corners, I can't really remember Dougal doing anything at all that I didn't think that was really good. And like Tim says, it's not his fault that somebody else isn't taking the corners. And again, like Tim says, I don't really know who should take the corners because when I go through the team, I can't really imagine that any of them could take a corner. Apart from this is a wild idea. I think the player I'd love to see on set pieces is actually Jerry because I think he delivers a beautiful ball at times. And I think, it seems daft not having your striker in the box, but I'm going to go for Dougal, which will please Tim, I'm sure.
Tim, Penny, for your thoughts?
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear that because I think people in the ground were sort of cursing a bit at Dougal, and I was thinking he's actually played really, really well at what's important. I'm just I think Stewart just shaded him just for his creativity. There was a couple of times where he played, he basically reversed the ball to the side of the pitch, and I think as a pair, I started to like Conley, but I think as a pair, these two are our best 2 centre mids. And again, I think they changed it as the game went on, but they were playing against a 3 early on, and you wouldn't have known it. So I'm going to go Stewart.
I'm going to go Bowler just for the runs, for those that amazing run he made. He scored the goal with his wrong foot, and he just gets you off your seat every time he gets the ball, and that's what I want to see as a football fan. That's what I love to see, and he's won the game. So Josh Bowler for me. Right, and speaking of Josh Bowler, just before you go, everyone, please do like and subscribe to the show if you're watching on YouTube. Glenn Kirkham's done this incredible song about Josh Bowler. Let's just get up on the screen there. So it's on YouTube, and we're going to play out with this song this evening rather than the usual.
Have we got to sing along, or we're going to listen to Glenn?
Not sing along. That's not happening.
No, that wasn't in the contract, Tim. Absolutely not. We are not going to sing along.
I just wanted to say I did go home. Well, she's not my wife because we're not married, but we've been together 20 years. I did go home to my wife and I did tell her how good Josh Bowler was, and she didn't give a toss.
Did you tell her about the left and the right step over?
Well, I tried, but I didn't even get there before she said something like, "You can go and put the bins out now. You've come home from your football or something." So
Well, you should have mentioned the left and right step over. You might have changed the tune.
You'd have grabbed her attention then. Did he tell her? And he scores for the pool.
I did, but I was in the yard by then putting the bin out, so she wasn't listening.
Just before you play it, John.
Yeah.
Sorry, just before you play it, Dennis has mentioned manager rating.
We're actually running out of time, so
okay. Let's just give him a 9 and all agree that.
Yeah,
loved it at the end, doing his little heart in front of the fans.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, it was. Yeah, didn't
quite
heart.
Emotional, actually,
It was.
wasn't
It was emotional.
It was.
It was an emotional moment. Right, so here we are with Glenn's song, Josh Bowler, Golden Ball of Blackpool. Thanks everybody for joining the show this evening. Thanks for listening to the audio. And here's Glenn's brilliant song, and Up the Pool.
Up the pool.
Pool.
He's electric, His long hair and wide boots eccentric. He does things I never expected, and he scars for the blue. When I saw Josh Bowler, I went home to the wife and I told her he did a left and a right step over, and he scars for the blue. With a word in his soul, defenders are tied up down, terrorized in the right. When you watch ball play, since your back's lost and playing, it's a machine, cause the wizard wearing tangerine with Jessica's and library. There's nothing goalkeepers can do, cause ball is electric, the goal of your Blackpool. He was a toughie, but he wanted to play with an Aussie. Penetrates without him needing a Johnny, worth $1 billion or 3. He'll score a dozen, bring the ball like a microwave oven, invade your box just like he's a Russian, and on FIFA should be 93. With a word in his soul, defenders are tied up now, terrorizing the right. When you watch ball play, since your back's lost and praying, it's a machine, cause the wizard wearing tangerine with Jessica's and library. There's nothing goalkeepers can do, cause ball is electric, the goal of your Blackpool. The dawn of your Blackpool. The dawn of your Blackpool. The dawn of your Blackpool.